Hello and welcome to the Guitar School Network. I'm Marc Seal and this is the Ultimate Guitar Show. Hello there and welcome to All About Technique. And today on All About Technique we're going to be talking about power chords, a bunch of different types of power chords and how to practice power chords. We're also going to use them in our riff O the show where we do Message in a Bottle. We'll apply the power chords that we're using there. And during sound advice, that little sound, that little riff that I was just playing, I'm using a harmonizer, actually a pitch shifter on that, and I'm going to show you how to get that setting that we use there. So sit back and get ready for All About Power Chords on All About Technique. Power chords have got to be the most common chords played on a guitar. What a power chord is basically, you're going to be playing only two different notes, and it has neither the major third or the minor third in it, which means the chord is basically neutral. It's not a major chord, it's not a minor chord. Some typical shapes of power chords would be these. Let's start with our first finger on the 5th fret 6th string, add our third finger to the 7th fret on the 5th string. Now that would be an A power chord. We're starting on an A, and we're playing the 1 and the 5. There's no third in there, so it's basically just two notes, non-major, not minor, just a power chord. What we can also do is we can add our pinky on the 7th fret 4th string, which makes it a 1, 5, and a 1. We're basically just adding an octave of our root note up above, and it just makes it a little bit fatter. And another way to play power chords, which is my favorite, is to use our first finger and our 4th finger. So instead of using our 3rd finger on the 7th fret 5th string, we'll use our 4th finger. Now, a lot of guitar teachers will tell you to use your 3rd finger. And logically, it makes sense because we're used to doing the 1 finger per fret idea, right? So if our first finger's on 5, if we do 1 finger per fret, our 3rd finger would automatically come to the 7th finger. But the reason I do the 4th finger is severalfold. First off, since we play power chords so much, and our pinky doesn't get used that much to begin with, it's a good way to get a lot of practice on your pinky. If I'm using my pinky for power chords all the time, my pinky's going to get a lot of workout right there. It's going to be a little bit stronger because I'm using it so much. It's going to get a really gnarly callus on it because I'm sliding it all over the neck, right? So the more you're using it, the stronger it's going to get, the more the callus, the more control you're going to get over it. Another reason I like to use my pinky for the power chords is because a lot of times I'll do what's known as an inverted power chord, and we're not going to exactly get into that, but I will tell you this. An inverted power chord is basically where we stretch our fingers even one more distance in between the two. It creates a major third power chord, which the shape is really common. And it makes it much easier to pull that stretch off if I've got my pinky set up on the high note to begin with. That's it. Another reason is when we play live, and I know a lot of you guys do this, you keep your strap down to, pretty much down your knees, right? So you're playing with your guitar really low. And the worst thing that guitar players can have happen to them is to get tendonitis. So what happens is if we use our 3rd finger, we're down at the 1st fret 6th string doing a power chord, our guitar's down at our knees, right? We're putting a lot of stress on the tendons up here and the joint right here. So by using our 4th finger, we're actually able to decrease the angle at which our wrist is, and it takes a little bit of pressure off the tendons, which is going to hopefully help you to not get tendonitis. So what I find, if you're playing with your guitar a little bit lower and you're playing especially punk bands, metal bands, rock bands, you're like ripping it up, playing really fast, playing power chords all over the neck. Well, if you're using your 3rd finger, you're going to be putting a lot more wear on yourself there. So by using your 4th finger, you're going to take some of that pressure off. So it's a very happening way to do it. One of the things to practice with power chords is to use a metronome and to practice just playing straight rhythms with it. We can start, let's talk about like an E5 power chord, for example. And a power chord is written as a 5 chord. You'll see like the letter E, 5. All that's saying is you're playing an E note, and then you're playing the 5th scaled pretty often. That's why it's a power chord. It's a 1 and a 5. Again, no third. The third is what would make the chord major or minor. More about that on a future lesson. Okay, say we play like an E5 starting on the 7th fret, 5th string, we make a power chord. Then we go to a C5, which is the 3rd fret, 5th string. Again, keeping your pinky 2 frets over one string down. And then maybe up to a D5. What you can do is you can practice counting your 8th notes and just doing like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down to a C, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and up to your D, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and back to your E. And do that connecting all of them. See if you can get it really smooth. Now speed is not really an issue here. Obviously you're going to want to build your speed up, but start off slow and playing it more even tempo is going to be your best bet. Check this out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. Now, once you get that and that's comfortable, then try changing strings with it. Maybe do a power chord where we start on the fifth string as our root note, our first finger is, and then maybe we switch to the root note on the sixth string, fifth fret. Maybe try to go back and forth and see if you can jump strings while still keeping an even tempo. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and etc. Timing is everything. Don't put little glitches in there. One thing I notice when I do my private lessons is a lot of my students will come in and they'll play it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and put a little pause, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You're much better off playing it really slow. No break. Now the cool thing about power chords is you can move them all over the fretboard. You can start with your root note, and we're always talking about the root note being the lowest note we're playing in the chord. We can start with our root note on the sixth string, the fifth, or the fourth, and the pattern will hold true. It doesn't hold true when we go to the third string. You actually have to extend it out. But if you basically make your power chord starting on the sixth, fifth, or fourth, you can play it anywhere you want on the neck. Okay, an example might be I might start on the ninth fret, fourth string, the fifth fret, seventh fret, fifth, third fret, fifth, sixth fret, sixth, I'm sorry, fifth fret, sixth, down to the first fret, sixth. You can see how you kind of move all over the place, and again, it's a great workout for your pinky if you're using your pinky. Here's a couple of examples. Let's take a look at like Rock You Like a Hurricane. Now the cool thing, if you know your power chords, right off the bat, there's thousands of songs you can play. I mean, there's so many bands that have made careers off of power chords and power chord progressions. So it's really important to try to learn these things. Now, if you already know your basic power chords and you want to get a little more advanced with it, one of the things you can do is pay more attention to what's going on with your right hand. We can do something where we do something a little more syncopated. We might try doing like a pattern where we palm mute a couple of notes. We might palm mute the first two notes just on the fifth string while holding a power chord. We'll hit just the fifth string twice with a palm mute, and then accent the chord. Go down to that C5 we talked about, do the same thing. Or we might even alternate pick. Or in the case of like the new Sum 41 song, you might do something like that. And basically, once you get your power chords, like I said, you can play thousands of songs. So you're going to want to learn your power chords. And later on in the show, I'm going to do Riff O the Show. And when we do that, that's going to be Message in a Bottle. That's a song that has a cool little power chord progression on the chorus. So we'll be taking a look at that in a little bit. So why don't we move on and let's check out Sound Advice.